You see this? This is armor. No, really. This is the only armor the soldiers got. They needed it in the trenches. A lot of shrapnel flying around, you know, little bits of metal from explosions. Also, it protected them in case their head ever popped up out of the trenches and the enemy decided to take a little shot. Well, guess what? Alwyn's gotten himself into the trenches. My dear William, you are the first to be written to from the trenches. This is our schedule. We take turns resting during the day and return to full duty at night. Usually resting entails 6 hours of sleep. The routine they adhere to is 2 nights in the trenches, then rest in the barn for 2. The barn is better than the trenches, but not much more comfortable. This country seems full of barns, and all seem in horrible shape. And the rats. As soon as we put the lights out, they start and run round and round the walls, close to our heads, squeaking and generally making themselves objectionable. I don't like them. But it makes me laugh to think that I don't like them. We are in the sounds of the guns now, all the time. Sometimes we hear big booms, sometimes the rattle of the machine guns, and occasionally rifle fire. At present we are not at the storm center, but there is heavy fighting some distance away on both our sides. From your affectionate father, Alwyn. Now this might be a good time to mention that there was more than one way to get killed in the war. It wasn't all machine guns and mortar shells, and sometimes your most dangerous enemies lived right with you in your trench. My dear Dorothy, my heel has got quite well again, but I am tormented by lice. I wash hard enough against them, but I think they've gotten into my woolen sweater, and I can't dispense with it. Once in a while, our clothes and blankets are fumigated in order to get rid of the lice, which are always attacking us. I washed my socks and towel today. Granny has sent me a new kind of sock she has knitted. They have no heels, so you can turn them around each time you put them on. Amazing! It doubles the use I get from them. We have just been inoculated again. This time they put the serum in our chests. They didn't take long. A long line of men ends almost as fast as they can walk by. One man paints them with iodine, and another 2 men pierce them, and away they go. My chest is starting to feel sore, but by resting a while I don't suppose it will trouble me, as we are back in reserves for a few days and have an opportunity for rest. From your affectionate father, Alwyn. Now in one of his letters, Alfred asks his father for a souvenir from the war. Any old thing, he says. Well, Alwyn didn't send him just any old thing. He sent him a cap, just like this one, with a rich history, or mythology, whichever way you want to look at it. A cap and a collection of stories about a man named Private McIsaac. Now, Private McIsaac, the cap was his, and a bullet went clean through it, in one end and out the other. McIsaac didn't even notice. He was digging trenches at the time. Now, in the stories, Alwyn calls Private McIsaac by his regimental number, 1804, 1804. So that's what we'll call him too. Now, in this first story that Alwyn sent, Private McIsaac, 1804, loses his rifle in a pile of straw. Sir! Yes, Private? I feel it is my duty to report that my rifle has been stolen. Really? By whom? Was it one of our men? No, sir, but I will require another one. Was it a German? Well, that seems silly. They've got enough guns of their own. No, sir, not a German, but I do need another one. Please. Sir, not until you tell me where the last one went. I don't know. Sir, you don't know. Well then, who stole it? The straw. The straw. Yes, sir. I fell asleep in it, and when I had awoken, I could find it no longer. Well, then, I've got just the thing for you. Better than a rifle. Ah, here it is. But, sir, this is just a knitting needle. That's right, soldier. And until you muster up the brain power to outwit that pile of straw, that is all you're going to have to defend yourself with. Do I make myself clear? Yes, sir. Needless to say, 1804 found his rifle. My dear Alfred, I got a letter from you in the trenches. We always like to get letters. I am just scribbling you a line in the dugout about 50 yards from the Germans. The ground is the floor. I have just lit a fire. It makes it a little smoky, but it is all right close to the ground. We have no chimney. The dugout is about 4.5 feet high and roughly 6 feet square. 4 of us live in it. We have no blankets when we are in dugouts and never take our boots off. This is rather a good one, as it was built for officers. We have a great old time cooking in these dugouts. We make our fires in old pails in which we knock holes, and we make our tea, fry our bacon, and sometimes we make a stew or French fried potatoes, so we don't starve. We drink a lot of tea, but I like cocoa for a change. The second night in the trenches, a German came right over to our wire entanglements and shot me. Or rather, took a shot at me. I shot back, but didn't hit him. It was dark, of course, and I could only shoot into the spot where I had seen the flash of his rifle. Next time, we must be quicker. Of course, some trenches are more dangerous than others, and I dare say, in some where there are a lot of snipers, it wouldn't be safe to look over much. But where I was before, the French and Germans were on fairly good terms and didn't shoot at one another at all. I shall be more careful if I get into a livelier part. I wish I hadn't left those other trenches. We lose a few men in the trenches once in a while. The Germans have some good snipers. One man of ours got killed through a sandbag. Of course, they wouldn't know they had hit anybody. One rarely can tell whether one has hit a man or not, and it's very difficult to be sure, especially if nobody is watching your shot through a periscope. I used to pop my head over the top sometimes and say, "Hello, old chap, take a crack," and then bob down quickly. You see, it's rather slow never seeing anybody at all, and if you expect them to show a head occasionally, you must do that yourself. Not that you see much when you look over except a ridge, which we suppose is the enemy's trench, and countless barbed wire entanglements. Then in the morning you see smoke rising from the trenches, and you may toss over a shot or two just to keep them from stretching their legs. There is a continual rifle fire, and now and again, guns. Some dust fell on me from the concussion of a shell, I shall say, just like a few raindrops. The trenches are quite close to one another. In one place, the Germans had a dummy that they stuck up, and it looked exactly like a man, and deceived our fellows who tried to shoot at it. And directly they shot, a bullet whizzed and almost hit the man, and they found out that it was a dummy, and that just below it, the Germans had a peephole through which they shot as soon as a head appeared. In places, The Germans have their sandbags painted all the colors of the rainbow. They neglect nothing. From your affectionate father, Alwyn. On another occasion, 1804 asked his corporal if he could see his commanding officer to ask for an opportunity to win a Victoria Cross, just about the most prestigious medal a soldier could earn.